Good morning. Welcome to BUB Enterprises. I've been asked to give you a little tour of our premises. BUB's been in business for 35 years, and we've been here for the last over 15 years. Places got big, places got small. Right now we're in a very condensed, small phase of the business because of business here in the U.S. and internationally. I want you to come in and take a look at everything we do. We're going to show you all the ways we make parts. Okay, so come on along. Bye. From the beginning of BUB Enterprises, I've always been fascinated with racing. That's kind of what got me into all of this. I've been in the motorcycle business all my life, and most of that time racing in some form, one way or another, but the major form is the land speed record. As you can see behind me is various, what would you call it, write-ups, trophies, whatever, of getting the record. I've held the record 3 times over 40 years. So it's nice for people to come in and see what we've done. Along with that, we have a display of some of our products. The products I'll go into a little bit later, but this gives the person who comes to BUB Enterprises a chance to look and see the finished pieces. Along with that, we're happy to take them in the back, like I will you, and you'll see how these pieces are made. In 1970, I set the land speed record with the late Cal Rayburn with Harley-Davidson's sponsorship. This motorbike went 265 miles an hour. It was the beginning of a long relationship with the Bonneville Sawflats. Over the years, 6 of the fastest 11 motorcycles ever have been mine. The latest machine, we call 7, first established the record at 350 miles an hour. That record was then up to 367 miles an hour, which now has been broken, and the new current record is 376. We hope to go back because this machine can get the record back. Odds are if you call BUB Enterprises or you come in the front door, the first person you will encounter is Linnea Johnson. Linnea's been with our company for a long time. She is person that you will deal with in sales, but she will also be the person if you have a warranty problem. She is the head of the warranty department. Because the warranty department isn't that busy, she also does the BUB speed trials at Bonneville. She and Delvine are the main people for the speed trials. So as you can see, she has 2 offices, one side by side. This is the sales side, this is the racing side. So, Linnea is the person you'll be talking to first. With the new BUB and being as consolidated as we had to be, we went to 2 stories for most of the facility. In the back you'll see even more consolidation with tooling. But this is part of the inventory. The inventory is stored in pieces, so we can be able to fill an order depending on if you want a black end cap, if you want a chrome one, whatever. So a lot of the parts are stored in pieces. All the brackets, hardware, nuts, bolts, all of that is in various ports of the inventory. The inventory is kept downstairs as well, but the downstairs section is mostly devoted to finished inventory. Someone calls on a popular model, we generally will have it downstairs. Although some of it, again, is done upstairs. Like this. It makes more sense to store it this way in terms of space than it would be if we have a whole bunch of separate boxes. So a lot of the parts, heat shields, so forth and so on, finished product is stored in the downstairs section of the inventory. One of the things that I'm most proud of at BUB Enterprises is when you open the box and you look at the part and you say, wow, look how nicely this is made. Look at the quality of welds that are on this part. Many times we will opt to have a part TIG weld or heli-arc rather than MIG part or stick welded. Won't go for that. I want to give you a part that I would put on my own machine. And I guarantee you, given the choice between MIG and TIG, I will take TIG every time. This is where all of the welding happens, and we have a relatively small group of people welding like we have everything else, but every one of these things has their name on it because their signature is their workmanship. It's too bad we don't have any heat shields. Damn. Because that's the all of the parts we make that are brackets or heat shields or even some of the muffler parts are all cut with a laser. This particular laser is fairly unique. It's a 6-axis laser. It not only would do flat stock, but it will turn the part, make circles, go up and down. Makes for very, very close tolerances. This is why we can do heat shields, 2-into-1 collectors, 3-into-1 collectors, and we do it in such a way where you can't even tell there's been a cut done after the weld has been done. This is, can I go now? This is Donner. Donner runs the shop back here, and he is the master of the laser. Good bit of all the parts we make start and finish with the laser. We need brackets, laser. Need all the various parts, laser. So it is planned along with Donner. So Donner is the beginning, the middle, and the end of each part. Okay, the part can be built in a lot of different ways. This opens up our possibilities. As you can see, we can do a hole not only on a flat surface, but on a round surface. Done. There's a saying in America, something borrowed, something blue, something old, something new. This press is very old. It's a turn of the 18th century. It came out of a battleship. It was a resizing press for an 8-inch battleship gun. And I inherited it a long time ago, and we don't have the heart to get rid of it, number one. But number two, it does a job that other presses don't do. It's very long, it's very powerful, and Dale happens to love the thing, so we can't get rid of it. Anyway, the rest of this department, Dale's department, is machine shop, fixtures, presses, stamps, baffle making machine, various tooling that I have got over the years. All of this tooling, though, is current. We still use it all, and it was all built in-house. Okay, this is Jerry's department, the baffle department. Those are some of the baffles that are the standards and our one-offs and our sample baffles. So these are what he can go to when he's looking to build a baffle. Okay, Jerry, why don't you make one? Good baffle, no problem. Okay, tooling is a big part of what we do here. If the tooling's not right, the part's not going to be right. Over and over you hear about a part that's delivered to a customer and they call back and say, oh, this didn't work, or this didn't fit, or. The part working, fitting, and performing is the backbone of BUB Enterprises, along with the fact that we build probably the most intricate tooling in the business. Got it. Exhaust pipes are made of tubing. In our particular case, we think we make special tubing. We have a particular type of tube that we use. Each part is cut to length that we already have a number for, so we know how long this part has to be. So the part is cut, cold saw cut, pulled out of the saw, and deburred on both ends. Then he deburs it on the inside. Now, maybe an expert be looking at this and say, why does he do that? I mean, all you got to do is cut it again. Well, when you put it in a bender, you have to make sure that the part is absolutely clean, both inside and outside. Inside, so it doesn't foul up the bender. Outside, so it doesn't cut people or scratch a part that it's sitting next to. From now on, all of these parts have to be handled with kid gloves because you don't want to scratch it and have to polish the scratch out later on. The deburring section, again, is something I've learned over the years that works the best for us. Then he's got to deburr the inside and he's going to clean the pipe. Each part has to be cleaned, but don't worry about it. Once the parts are cut and cleaned and deburred, then it comes over to Dylan in the bending department. We have two benders here. This particular bender is bending, what size is it, Dylan? 2.5. 2.5 inch tube. Go ahead and put it in. This is a mandrel bender, so when it bends, the mandrels inside keep it from collapsing. The part is automatically advanced to the next bend and it comes free. Next thing, one more bend. Very last end of the bend. It's a very accurate machine. Okay, but the accuracy is great, but the operator is the one that ensures the accuracy. So what he does is, after the part is bent, again, cleaning the part off is a real big part of the deal. This part fits into the fixture perfectly. If it rocks in any way, it's no good and it gets thrown out. Thank you, Dylan. I'm very proud of this next 3 rooms. There's many people that we compete against that will yell about how much horsepower they make. And they do it strictly out of the corner of their head. They don't have a dynamometer. They don't have a dynamometer that is really accurate. And we have 3 of them. The first one we have is a Dynajet eddy current dyno. And it's in ground and water cooled. It's in a room that is encased by 4 inches of concrete. We do this for 2 reasons. Number one, our neighbors don't even know we have a dynamometer. Number one, because it keeps the noise down. But we're able to change the altitude in this room. We have 2 different fans, very powerful fans. And by adjusting these 2 fans, we can alter the atmosphere, the altitude in this room by 2,000 feet. This has come in very handy for EPA and CARB, California Air Resource Board, identification and verification. As you can see in the back, we have various collector forms that while the machine is on the dyno, the operator can be here, and he has a screen up here so he knows what he's doing or how much load he's throwing at it. And we also can be real-time, know what the carbon and the hydrocarbons are doing in this dyno room. The tube on the side here is a 60-mile-an-hour tube, i.e. we can take this tube, point it towards the motorcycle, and it makes a 60-mile-an-hour wind going across the bike. So we can sustain temperature on the machine. Again, the dyno's in ground. So it means that we can do this very quickly, very efficiently. All the various things you see behind me is for finding out what kind of emissions there are. Down to, we buy air. Had a secretary ask me one time, how come you're buying a can of air? Well, this particular can of air is to make sure the machine is reading the right air. So we can adjust the machine to this air, and then we know the emissions coming out of the motorbike are right. So this is first part of the emission and horsepower and torque test. This is another part of the dynoing that we do for CARB and EPA testing, and for product evaluation and vibration testing. We can put a motorbike on this dyno by virtue of rolling it back, putting it on, strapping it in, then firing it up, putting it in gear, and we can run up to 500 miles a day right in this room. And of course, the room is all concrete enclosed, top, bottom, everywhere, 4 inches of concrete. We've used this room to evaluate a lot of things, mostly though, vibration. Harley-Davidson's vibrate, and to really find out what kind of part you're making, this is part of the test, although we do have a test writer that does test every part we make. But this is very good. The other thing is CARB and EPA ask us to accumulate miles. You have to accumulate up to 5,000 miles at a time. If it's raining outside, we can do it inside in this dynamometer. This dyno was originally designed for a truck, but we've been able to just use half of it for a motorcycle. All the cooling, you know, it does all those same things. This is maybe the part that I'm most proud of. This is a dynamometer we use for the racing department. It's an 800 horsepower dyno that we run our V4 on. But it's also a dyno that has the facility to use in all the other dynos. In other words, when those dynos are running, we can accumulate information on this set. But for the most part, this is the load, various outputs of what's going on inside, the bulletproof glass in case the motor does a hand grenade. And we have a lot of instrumentation here, but a lot of it is state-of-the-art, except one thing. It's right here. This determines how much pressure we have inside and outside of the dynamometer. This ensures that we're not dynoing the crack under the door. We want to make sure that we have an equal amount of atmospheric pressure outside and inside the dyno cell. Now we can change that. We can make this go like this if we want to change the altitude in this dyno cell. Funny thing, one of the funny things we did is we did that so we could replicate what's going on at Bonneville. We can put Bonneville altitude in our dyno room. This is the dynamometer that our V4 was developed on. Lots of time and hours in here. Again, we can alter the atmosphere in here, keep it cool, keep it hot, do whatever we have to do. And the exhaust goes right out that big hole up there. But we can keep track of so many things here. It's like the thing when we run the motor on here, it looks like a Frankenstein with all the data coming off of it. This is an 800-pound dynamometer. That means we can make 800 foot-pounds of torque on this dyno. It's water cooled, and it has a couple of special things about it because of our motor. It has a special dampening effect in it that keeps it from getting blown up like we did other dynos trying our motor on them. This is the motor that we set the land speed record at 367 miles an hour. It's scratch built, designed here, and all the various parts are apart right now because at the end of the last record, they made us take it apart to measure it. So we had to measure bore, stroke, etc., and then we took it apart even further to see if there was anything that was on the verge of failure. Nothing was on the verge of failure. But what you see here is a scratch-built motor. There's two of them, and one's in the motorbike right now, and then this one is on the bench getting ready to be rebuilt with all new parts. We have two people in the shipping and inspection department. Shipping and inspection usually are separated, but in our particular case, you want to inspect it to make sure that the part is what we want people to know we have. So Julio takes the part out of the shipping wrap that it comes from the chrome shop. We insist, even it costs more, but we insist that the chrome shop wraps the part for the trip from Los Angeles up here. He takes the part apart, takes a look, polishes it, because the most important part of our customer's introduction to our part is his first look at the part. He pulls it out of the box and goes, wow, I got my money, I got more than my money. These guys did it better than they had to do. The part again is rewrapped, and then you can see the part behind it is wrapped one more time. And again, in that wrapping, watch what he does now. He'll wrap the part and making sure that the part will not get damaged in any way. So when you get it, yeah, you have to take the wrap off, but you can be assured that it'll be a perfect part when you do. The boxes are made extra heavy. Again, another little bit of cost, but another way of protecting the part that you've just bought. You'll see that we go the extra mile in making sure that this box not only is a heavier box, and it's more capable of withstanding the shipping that it's going to get, whether it goes to Japan or it goes to Asia or wherever. The worst part is going to Mississippi in the middle of the summertime. The humidity will take another box and make a piece of rag out of it. Okay, so chemical goes into a bag and the bag will start swelling. When it does, the part goes in and it's uniformly surrounded by the bag. Now he does another bag, holding the part in the middle of the box. Now watch it, watch it. Okay, watch it foam up. The foam will come up, and what this does is it isolates it in the box, making sure that the part does not rub against other parts in the box or it doesn't fall out of the box going down the road. Stapled together and finally taped. Ready to go. Okay? Done. We also have a full line of apparel, both for men, women, boys, and girls, whether it be a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or a hoodie, we've got them all, from extra small to 3X large. From time to time, someone corners me and says, "Tell me about BUB. What's so different about BUB? How'd you do BUB? Why BUB?" The whole, so many things like that. Well, number one, I wanted to do something that was better than everybody else. I wanted to build an exhaust pipe that was better than anything I could buy, and something that was suitable for my own motorcycle. And from the very beginning, I set a standard for those pipes. As you can see in the tour of the factory, we do a lot of things that other people just wouldn't do because it doesn't cut the corners. But when you pick the part up, you're going to find out we don't cut corners. How do we compare with other companies? I think the best way to do that is to pick up a finished BUB product. You're not going to cut yourself on it. You're going to look and see the wells, the finish, the style, and the complete package. The other part of this is when you put it on the bike, it'll fall on the motorcycle, and you're going to get a good set of instructions. Not something that'll work on all kinds of different pipes. You're going to find a set of instructions that work specifically for this system. There are other people around the world that do make good parts. And we have to maintain a standard to compete with them. But I think rather than follow the standard, I think we've made the standard. And I'm very proud of that. Building exhaust pipes for motorcycles makes Harley-Davidson probably one of the first things to go for. I build parts for Triumphs. We have built parts for Nortons, Moto Guzzi's, Moto Marini's. We named all kinds of, you name it, I built it. I started the business really building a part for anybody that needed an exhaust pipe, whether it be for a Formula One car, for an airplane, for a boat, for whatever. But then people came in over and over and wanted Harley pipes. They wanted a pipe that sounded good, but they wanted a pipe that ran good. And at the time, there wasn't anything on the market except for loud, straight pipes. I was the first to invest in a dynamometer to find out just how good you could make a Harley run. Not only that, but I also invested in making the tooling to make the parts fit every time. Back in those days, it was a crapshoot. You didn't know what part was going to go on what bike because most of the pipes at the time were one fit all. We have never done that. We're very specific on how our parts fit. Harley-Davidson, though, I've got a soft place in my heart for Harley-Davidson. I set the land speed record with a Harley-Davidson. To this day, the fastest single-engine Harley is mine. Yeah, I mean, there's just some things you do that you don't want to explain. You just do it because that's the way you do things. We're not so sophisticated that we're pointing after a certain demographic or a type of person that wants our pipes. Our advertising is very minimal. what our advertising is the pipes we make. We build parts good enough to have people brag about what they bought, and that is how we sell parts. Done it for 35 years now, where a person buys something and really is happy with it, he's going to tell people about it. And that word of mouth is what's perpetuated our business. But it's also what perpetuates fine parts in the back. I say in the back, in manufacturing. They know that a part that's well done will spawn another part. And that's how we've done things over the years. So, what kind of person buys a Harley BUB part? All kinds. But what another thing that crops up is, there's a lot of people call here and say, you know, I bought your parts for over 30 years. and I don't even consider another part when I buy a new motorcycle. I put your parts on exclusively. And that, again, is one of the nice parts that makes you happy when you know that you put your name on something and somebody really, really enjoys what you do. Next big question at BUB Enterprises. Yeah, you make good parts. Yeah, you're handsome and debonair. But what got you started trying to have the world's fastest motorcycle? What on earth would possess you to do something like that? It started, I guess, with my dad, who used to buy a new car, put all the kids in the car, go up to the desert and see how fast the car would go. Yeah, very dangerous, but that's where it started, really. And then in the 50s, I got to see Mickey Thompson go 400 miles an hour. Every other kid in my neighborhood, every other kid in my school wanted to be a baseball player in the World Series. I guarantee you, my heart has always been at Bonneville. I've always wanted to do that, and there's nothing like having the fastest motorcycle on Earth or any nearby planet parked in your garage. There's nothing like it. So, what started it? I think it was a little thing that started it, and then it got built upon for 40 years. Next question. Which world record was the best? And how did you feel after winning the world record? The elation is something that I'm not capable of talking about. I am not that smart or that articulate to say. I tell you what, after working that hard and doing something that everybody in the beginning was convinced I couldn't do, and then doing it in the way that it got done makes the first time I got the land speed record remarkable. I was 24 years old and had the world's fastest motorcycle in my garage. Trying to get the record back again has been the biggest issue. We lost the record, and I tried 5 more times to get it and failed. So 5 years ago, getting the record at 350 miles an hour was a huge success. It was a huge personal success, but it took everything I had. Getting the record is remarkable, and people can sort of relate to that, but no one can know how gut-wrenching it is to lose it. And at that time, trying to figure out, do I go back after it? Or should I just say, I'm in the history books, I've done what many people think we couldn't do. But what folks don't understand is what makes the person do it in the first place, and how it's so hard to give up. I've asked, how do people perceive us? Well, I think it depends on what corner do they come from. Do they come from the racing end of it, where they know that the technology and the will and the tenacity got us where we were? Or do they come from the other technical end that says they make a wonderful product that does everything I wanted to do and more, and it made my motorcycle a better motorbike, depending on what you wanted. If you wanted style, sound, performance, rideability, longevity, all of it in one package. So how do people perceive us? We're crazy people that build exhaust pipes in Northern California. What else? There's more and more regulations regarding motorcycles in the United States and around the world. Carbon emissions and all the various emissions that a bike makes are being scrutinized very carefully. California has been the first to come down with an emissions law. It meant that after next year, anything sold in California for a Harley-Davidson that has catalytic converter on it cannot have a replacement sold that is not cat equipped. Not only does it have to be cat equipped, but it has to meet certain emission levels. We are the first and really the only people who have made a catalytic converted muffler for your Harley-Davidson. We didn't just do one, we did it in typical BUB fashion. It makes 80 decibels. It's legal everywhere. It emits better than stock emissions. When I say better, they threw different rules at us and we had to make our emissions slightly better than stock. But the wonderful, crazy part about all this is our part makes 11% more horsepower. We've made all the criteria and made more power and torque. I think that's a miracle. A little company like mine coming up with a part that outperforms a multinational company. It was a miracle, and I'm very proud of it. So what's the message? What do I want people to know about? Well, I think I've shown them just about everything there is about BUB Enterprises, Dennis Manning, our product, and our racing. But exhaust pipes aren't the biggest money-making thing that you'll ever get after. If you want to make money, you go after real estate, you want to go after stocks, you want to go pharmaceuticals. There's a lot of other ways to make money. It's the passion of it all. I'm a motorcyclist through and through. I don't know anything else because I've never done anything else, and I don't want to do anything else. Motorcycles are in my DNA. The only thing I ask of you is, don't just sit there, buy one.